Hey, it's my favorite day, almost my favorite day. It's one of my favorite days. Every day is my favorite day. Today happens to be Tuesday, which is sales day. It's the DigiNinja Sales Academy. Isn't that right, Smith?
That is correct.
We need a name. I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to rename all the shows.
Start all over.
Start all over. It's the Billy Merritt Show. How about that?
That sounds easy to remember.
All right, this is the Billy Merritt Show on Tuesday. On Tuesday, we happen to talk about sales. And I just want to remind some people what some of the themes we've been going over for the last how many episodes?
This is 92.
So this is our 92nd episode. And there's themes throughout all these shows. We always talk about money. We always talk about sales. We always talk about goals, and we always talk about business. So one thing you need to understand, if you are in business, that you're a salesperson, and once you know that you're a salesperson, you need to understand that training is very important. You need to train, you need to network, you need to read books, you need to write your goals down. But most importantly, once you understand the basics, you need to be operating yourself as a business. A business plan is much more important than a sales plan. So here's what a business cycle looks like. Number one, advertising and marketing. You have to tell your story. You have to get it out there. The best marketing tells a story. Content is king. The more information you can put out there, the better for you. And you don't need to try to close these people right away. It's kind of like in the art of text message selling, Smith. You know, one of the mistakes that we talk about in the first chapter is avoiding the mistakes, of course. And don't go for an appointment before you've made at least two different offers, before you've given two different offers, whatever that is. If you're selling cars or if you're selling houses, you need to offer access or information about at least two offers. And then if you provide enough information, then you will get what you want, which is an appointment that shows up and buys. So in relation to marketing and sales, you don't need to go for the close. Everybody's always focused on the close. That's important. It is important to stop selling and start closing. But if you would just simply keep adding value to the situation, adding value to the customer, and providing them an opportunity, they'll buy from you. So you need to be lead focused, marketing, leads, and then use your sales skills. So that is something I don't want you guys to forget. So I'm going to keep bringing it up. We're in the business. It's a business cycle. Marketing, leads, and then sales. Marketing, leads, and then sales. Today's the sales show. We have a special guest today. I think Brady, by the way, Smith, you understand another thing that we talk about very often is your network is your net worth.
Yes, sir.
So Brady's out there taking advantage, taking the good information that I've been giving him throughout the years, couple of years now, and he's been networking. And he met Mr. Andrew Sayles. What a cool name, right?
Right.
All right, so without further ado, let's bring on Mr. Andrew Sayles. Andrew, how you doing, bud?
Hey, how's it going, man? I'm doing amazing. How you guys doing?
We're doing fantastic over here in South Georgia, and you are in St. Louis. Is that correct?
I am. I think if I lean back, you can see the arch in the background there a little bit.
That's very cool, man. Very cool. So, you know, you have the coolest name to be on a sales show, Andrew Sayles. So, tell us what you know about sales. See, I tell everybody on Tuesday we always have a sales expert, and your name qualifies you for that. But let's let people know what you know about sales. How did you get into sales? What are you selling? And give us just an overview of who Andrew Sayles is.
Absolutely, man. So, just to be honest with you guys, I'm a real person. I don't sugarcoat things. I tell my story. I keep it raw, just to maybe even inspire others. So, I actually got my start in sales selling drugs. I sold drugs from 15 to 20. When I was 20, I got caught, and that's what actually led me into legitimate sales. And
one second, real quick. We got to use this. Guys, today we have a special guest on the show, Andrew Sayles, former drug dealer. So let's go ahead and get some expert information. I've never interviewed no, I have. I'm kidding.
A lot of sales guys have been there. But so that led me to legitimate sales. I got into door-to-door sales. I had a lot of success with it. Ended up, shortly after, finding my way in there and working my way, I had consistent, decent paychecks. I became the office manager. Then I got promoted again. I was training, building sales teams, traveling around the country. That entire time I was on probation. So I was actually, cocky. I'm a sales guy, right? I was missing appointments. testing positive for marijuana when I show up for appointments. So they yanked me off probation, put me in jail for about 5 months or so. When I got out, I got back into door-to-door sales, hustled up again, got offered a big promotion, went to Florida, and I was running about 5 or 6 offices at this point in time. And the girl I was dating before I went to Florida got jealous that I met another girl in Florida and called my PO and told her I was working out of state because I was flying back and forth for probation appointments every other month. And in 2015, I actually got extradited from Florida and did 6 months in jail again. So when I got back out, my kid had just turned 1, and I had spent about a year in jail, or my bad, about 6 months in jail, so half of his life in jail at that point in time. So I didn't want to do the traveling that had came around with my door-to-door sales. So I ended up doing some other things. I worked for Best Buy for a little bit, didn't like it, ended up leaving and working for a really big sales trainer, selling his sales training courses and seminars and stuff like that. From there, that actually connected me with my mentor, a guy named Bill Rowland. He sold his first company, 2020 Companies, for $150 million. He took me under his wing about 5 years ago. He helped me build a door-to-door company that I had a lot of success off of for a couple of years, for several years, still to this day, actually still doing door-to-door. Then he helped me start a healthcare company in 2019 that we scaled to the point to where our sales profit was about $50,000 a month. And now I'm in solar. We sell like the panels on the roof. I've trained and built sales teams for this. So everything in life is sales, man. And it's been my life. I've adopted a lifestyle of sales. I adopted that lifestyle of sales at a very young age. It's what really set me apart from all the other drug dealers and allowed me to build a drug business. And when I got legitimate sales, I saw a lot of similarities, and I've just used those to help propel myself to new levels. And that's me, Andrew Sayles, and why I'm the sales guy.
I like it, Andrew. So how old are you, bud?
I am 36.
36. Okay. So 36 years on the planet, half your life in sales, in one way or another. One thing that I tell people, because I mentor a lot of young people, I have a lot of young people behind me in the call center here. We have 48 employees, and you hear stories and you see the TV drama about the lifestyle and the music, of course, the lifestyle of criminality, and you see a lot of glorification of money, drug money, the fancy cars, the fancy clothes, the fancy watches, those things. But one thing that I know for certain, and this is certainly true for me, it's way easier. Like people that are tempted to get into any type of illegal activity, it's way simpler to make way much more money selling something of real value.
100%, man. And I'm glad you brought that up because, I even went on a stint to where I was playing poker professionally for a couple of years. And this old man, it was in between, like, when I was out of jail and, had sold drugs and this and that and had done a little bit of real sales at this point in time. But this old man was like, if you're smart enough to make a living playing poker, you're probably smart enough to make a lot more money doing something else. And it really clicked to me because I'm like, hold up, like the poker players are always trying to win money off the businessmen, and then the drug dealers are always really trying to find big businessman clients. Why am I not trying to be a big businessman? And so like, if you are out there and you're on that path, I always tell people, have an exit strategy, find a way to get in legit business and use that hustle, that motivation for something good.
So you got into door-to-door. Is there a path for people who want to get into sales? Is door-to-door still a effective way to make some money, build some cash?
It is, door-to-door. It has a special place in my heart. It will always be there. So anybody can start with that, and then anybody can start, selling online. Online is basically the 2020, damn near 2021 version of door-to-door. But yeah, and anybody can start there. There's a lot of people who'll hire you across the country if you got a good attitude and you're motivated. They'll give you a shot in door-to-door.
Yeah. So you say online is the new door-to-door. I see it differently. So explain, first of all, tell me what you mean by that so that I don't just disagree right away. Door-to-door, online is the new door-to-door. Explain what you mean there.
So, I will say it kind of is a little different than door to door, because if you are doing online properly, you should have warm leads as opposed to door to door with cold leads. But the similarity with door to door and online is that any good salesperson, at least while they're practicing their craft, is going to get in front of numerous people every single day. Like, like I always call it the law of 100. If you make 100 contacts every single day, you can't fail. So with door to door, it's easy to go. I'm not going to say easy, because if it's easy, everybody would do it. But if you're willing to put the time in, the effort, deal with the rejection, and evaluate yourself between customers and pitches, you can go out and knock 100 doors every day and make some money. With online, you can easily go, not easily, obviously. Again, if it was easy, everybody would do it. But you can message 100, 200, even 300 people in a day to move a product. So those are the similarities between the two. But you are right. There are big differences between door to door and online.
So yes, and I totally agree with what you said there. Knocking on 100 doors, and again, I can't speak very much about it as an authority because I've never done door to door, but I do see the tremendous value of learning to deal with the rejection. I've been on the inside of the door when people knock on my door. And I always tell them, man, I really admire what you do. I mean, it just the call reluctance. I've sold millions of dollars of products and services, hundreds of millions of dollars of products and services over the phone, and in phone sales, we have a call center behind us back here, and, we've evolved into a text center basically, but we selling on the phone and running a call center, we have a term called call reluctance, but I'm sure that, I don't know. Have you heard of call reluctance in the door to door?
I've actually never heard the term before.
Okay. All right. So what it is, and I've talked to door about this call, that fear of knocking on the door, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
okay.
That's a call reluctance, dialing that person, people have a fear. They have a fear of the phone. And, I have felt that fear, and you have to feel the fear and do it anyway. So I'm sure that has to be, did you immediately have no fear knocking on doors, or was there that call reluctance in the beginning?
Man, so I'm an enigma, to be honest. So my very first day in door to door, and it was crazy. So I show up, and these guys don't even have an office yet. They're new in my city, and the guy that got me the job, he was a regional sales manager. I knew him from the poker table, actually, and I knew he made good money, but I didn't know exactly what he did. And so I call him up, and I'm like, Chad, you can get me a job. Because my lawyer's like, you want to have a job before you go to court. So he's like, oh, I happen to be open at a market in St. Louis. Well, I found out later he called his manager, and he's like, I got this kid in St. Louis. He's kind of ghetto. He's probably not going to work out, but he's my friend, so I'll give him a shot. Back in those days, I had my hat cocked to the side, sagging my pants, red bandana hanging out of my pocket. And so I go into this office, and we're meeting in a Starbucks. They don't even have an office yet because it's brand new. And all these guys are just showing me their check stubs for $1,000 a week. And I had never known anybody my age at that point in time making $1,000 a week. And that was just all the money in the world to me. So that very first day, I followed the manager, watched him make $150. And then the second day I watched him make 200. And he's like, you want to make 150, 200 a day? And I was like, damn right. And he's like, all right, here's a binder, go knock those doors. And I just went and started knocking. And because I saw it could be done. So I believed it. And I believed in myself, because I didn't know anything about legit sales at that time, but I knew I was better than those guys. Mm-hmm. So I was just like, I'm going to make it work. And I figured it out. My first week, to be real, I only made $160, but every week it got bigger and bigger and bigger, because I started buying sales books. I started watching, YouTube wasn't around then, but I buy those little tapes and stuff. They had tapes you could buy still then. But yeah, and I never felt that, but I know that is a real thing that people feel, the reluctance.
Yeah. So the reason you didn't feel it is you had the proper motivation. You were motivated by the money, and so I tell people that I mentor and people on the show every week. I said, when I have a guest on here, or when you hear me speak, or you read a book, you need to ask yourself a question about the person giving you the information. Number one, do they know what they're talking about? And if they that's basically the only question you really need to ask to do what I'm telling you is, do they know what they're talking about? And if they do know what they're talking about, and they say you can do X and you want X, then you need to do exactly what your person said. If they're someone, you know, of a value, someone you look up to, someone you trust, someone that is ethical, then you need to do exactly what they tell you. So you saw the money he was making, and he said it, Smith, he said, and I knew it was true. You know, you saw what he said, you evaluated it. He's not full of it. I see him doing it, and I want that. So you just, you know, that's a problem a lot of people deal with. There's so many people who read a lot. There's so many people who ingest a lot of information from YouTube videos. They watch Gary Vee, they watch Grant Cardone, they watch different various podcasts. You know, they watch
Jocko Willing.
Yeah, they watch all this stuff, you know, that sounds good, and they're like watching it, and then they don't implement it because, like, okay, obviously you did not believe what he just said because you're not doing it. You know, you're just filling your head up with information, but you're taking no action. So that's possibly an enigma. Yes, there's very few people. As a matter of fact, people who watch this show and there's tremendous value in the information we put out here, but probably 1 out of 10 people implement it. In my book, The Art of Text Message Selling, that book has made hundreds of millions of dollars for salespeople and businesses all over the country. But there's salespeople who rely on sales, or they rely on, they talk to people through text message, and they haven't bought the book. It's just, you know, taking action is so important. But back to your point about the similarities and differences between door to door and the internet. Here's something that this is something that I recently learned. Okay. And I mentioned it right before I brought you on here. You know, I've studied under the greats. I trained with the greats. I mean, I was every morning at 9:30 for quite some time. I was on the, you know, the role playing with the Grant Cardone team when we were selling Cardone on Demand, and I got to role play with the masters, you know, and so there's so much value in learning to sell and learning to close and having that skill. But recently, this is something that I see the potential of you doing it. I looked at your Facebook profile and some things today. You putting content out there. You're getting some good information. If you market properly and you build your pipeline so full, man, of people who need your product, who really need it. So if you have a real solution in solar, by the way, on my roof, if the right person had talked to me when I just built my house, I would have it on there, right? So, yeah. So you know you have a solution that's needed. My power bill is over $1,000 a month.
Hey, we're about to come to town.
So, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it would not be hard to convince me that I need solar. You know what I'm saying? Because giving money to the city is not my idea of a good investment. Okay. So anyway, if you know you have a solution and you market it properly, and you do the right marketing and advertising, telling the right story, showing people the solution, and building your pipeline so big, you can actually stop closing and selling, knocking on doors. And you mentioned messaging people, you know, sending 100 messages, you can't fail. You're right. But if you get the marketing and the branding and the messaging right, all you'll have to do is turn in the work orders. And that is something we've mastered in the last 3 years. When we started this system we have now, there was me and one person who just walked by. It was first just me. It was just me and this phone, and I was using sales skills. I was knocking doors. I was making the phone calls, and I was calling on dealers. And we generated an income. We generated revenue. We generated a business, and then Joey came, and he's got really good phone skills and sales skills, and he made those calls. So we grew it. And now that we're with 48 employees and probably 10, 12 salespeople selling the product, my email, my phone, which we have software where we manage all of our texts, that's what we are. We're just basically in there taking orders at this point. Now, not that there's not tremendous value in follow-up and making other calls, but The only thing we did differently was we just kept telling the story, and we got the marketing down so that there was created so much interest that we put the marketing and the lead generation ahead of the sales. You know what I'm saying? So I would love to see you implement that. And I know you are. I know you're growing, and I know you're you're on the fast track to massive, branding of Andrew Sayles, and I'm a big fan. So what's your thoughts on turning sales into a marketing and lead generation system?
So I'm glad you brought that up. And that's actually, one big thing I'm a huge advocate for is it all really starts with marketing, right? That's how you get in front of the people, and why online actually has a little bit advantage over door to door, because if I'm shooting you a message online, you're gonna have shown some interest in what I'm doing one way or another. And there's a lot of ways you can actually go about doing that. And ironically enough, I've actually built an online business before to where I brought on 100 clients and made about 10 grand my first 40 days. And then I raised a hedge fund of about 76 grand in 2 weeks just by using those tactics. It was doing cryptocurrency consulting, and I do a ton of videos just giving value. And a lot of people came to me wanting the advice. And that's actually why I started the business. I saw a need to serve. So yeah, that is crucial. I think everybody should be going that route. We actually do that for solar right now too. We run a lot of Facebook ads in house, and run up a database and have an email list and all that good stuff. And I'm huge on chat bots, and what you guys do with text messaging is something we actually need to implement. All our agents, they send out text, to connect with people, but I know there has to be a better way of laying out a platform.
There's a much better way. And, we've experimented with chat bots, and I'm a big Elon Musk fan, so, I understand the entire, idea of machine learning and AI, but at this point, man, every chat bot, and I've experienced everyone. Maybe if I was the guy programming it with the art of text message selling, possibly it could be, but right now AI, when it comes to chat bots, is the lack of the artificial lack of intelligence. They're on a scale from 1 to 10, every chat service in the world, except for DigiNinja, on a scale from 1 to 10 is a 1 or less. And it's just because the information that is in the art of text message selling is brand new information. There's never been a manual on how to communicate properly through text message, and they and so these big companies, they'll hire thousands of agents. Oh, you can work from home. You can, and here's your script. And they've never sold anything. It'd be like, because I have a big company and I can build the software and have the technology, then now I can program it. It'd be like me trying to teach door to door. Actually it'd be worse than that. It'd be like somebody with no door to door. No sales experience trying to teach door to door. So, there's tremendous, but that's a good thing. That's why it's so easy for us to sell our product, is because the value is really there. So right now, the competition is insignificant, but that's how it was. That's how it was when we started with the Facebook events that we do. I was the pioneer of the Facebook buyback events that did it in an event style using Facebook ads. And now there's hundreds of companies that do it. So, the need was there. We led the way, and we've, now it's been tremendous in the car business. Absolutely changed the way people buy cars. So, the same thing is there with solar. The same thing is there with furniture. The same thing is there with so many products that people they're still trying. It's the beginning stages of how to do it right.
I agree, man. I agree. Text message is an awesome platform to sell on, just because you're always going to get more responses through text. People are just more comfortable with it. So it's awesome that you're one of those pioneers, and we all got plenty to learn from you, I'm sure.
Well, I learned from people who came before me. If I hadn't been with those mentors that and in those boiler rooms, then I wouldn't have got that information. But it is an exciting time. It's got to be an exciting time for solar. What is there? What's the stats? The number of users, the number of Do you know the number of households that rely on solar for their primary?
To be honest, I don't. The big stats for us in the industry right now are the tax credit, which is looking like it could be extended. Right now, the anybody who goes solar, they get a federal income tax credit of 26% of the entire system cost. Our systems generally cost 26 to, I mean, 30 to $50,000. So, yeah, it's a nice chunk of money. And then in states like Illinois, I'm in St. Louis, Missouri, but I'm looking across the river to Illinois right now. The utility company has to pay customers to go solar. So the average home that we deal with in Illinois, the utility company pays about $13,500 for them to go solar. So we also have a really good finance company. It allows us to do no interest, no payments for the first 12 months. And if they take that government money and they take that money from the utility company and they throw it back into the loan, I can give them solar today for cheaper than what they're paying electricity for. So if you're paying $200 a month for electricity, I can give you solar for $175 a month. And there's no interest, no payments for the first 12 months. So you get free electricity for a year. So it's really a no-brainer. In a lot of these situations, we're able to put customers in. So those are our big numbers, just taking advantage of the incentives. And then, like any other sales process, we educate them on the best way to take advantage of those incentives.
Sure. So why would the solar, explain why that is? And I love it. I'm thrilled that the company would have to pay, but why would the electric company have to pay for the solar? How does that
So
work?
several different states passed a thing called the Clean Energy Act, and their goal is to get a certain percentage of the state green by, I believe it changed based on state, but Illinois is like 2026. So their goal is to get that there. So part of the utility company doing their part is like, hey, we'll cover a piece of your system for doing it. And then the other thing is too, though, any excess electricity that you don't use, the utility company is going to sell for a profit. So they're also just kind of giving you a big check up front.
Okay. So the electrical company, you don't remove that service. So you're still connected to that grid when you're on solar.
Yeah. A lot of people ask that. That's actually a really good solar question, because a lot of people are like, I want to go off the grid. And it's like, well, in reality, that's not the best way to do it, because you can't get any of those incentives. So the way it works is, you have the panels on your roof, then you get a new meter on your house. It's called a net metering. So your normal electricity meter spins clockwise, because all day you're sucking electricity out of the grid. Well, when you have the solar panels on your roof, all day you have enough electricity coming down the power of your house, and then the excess electricity is pumped into the grid, so it spins counterclockwise. And then at night when the sun goes down, then it spins clockwise again and sucks that electricity that you stored in the grid. So you essentially are using the grid as a battery to store your electricity in.
That's super cool, man. Super cool. So with the solar, obviously, if you're creating excess electricity, I mean, I'm sure the size of the home is tied to the size or the how much the system costs. If you use if you got a big house and insufficiently insulated, things like that, you're probably going to require a bigger solar system.
In theory, most of the time you will, but there's a lot of factors. Are you a single guy in a 4-bedroom house, or are you a guy that's married with 6 kids that leave the door open? There's 4 Xbox going, a computer, this and that. Like that guy.
The second guy.
Yeah, that guy's got $1,000 bill. So, it varies home by home. We do other projects related in solar too, where we do a thing called community solar, to where developers build huge solar farms. They run it to neighborhoods, so you can get all the benefits of solar without having the panels on their roof. Like literally, it's targeted for lower middle income people. So we go to the projects and say, hey, do you want your electricity company from that solar farm? Cool, you just sign here. You get your electricity from there. Nothing changes, but you get a 20% discount for the next 20 years or whatever the number is. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of incentives that go into it.
So what about the locals? So I'm just imagining my city. If people started really using a lot of solar, So do these cities, do they know about these incentives? Would they welcome you coming in and like changing neighborhoods? How would you approach the city about what they would benefit from, or is it a benefit at all to the city?
So, at the end of the day, it's you're right as a person to have solar. Stuff like this has gone to the Supreme Court before, to where even if you have a homeowners association, they can't stop you from getting solar panels on your roof. So, the city doesn't necessarily have any benefits. I mean, I personally, as a person who's an advocate of green energy, and has a child who wants the world to be a better place, I think the benefit for anybody is the more clean energy that we have out there, it all adds up.
Mhm. Yep, I agree. So with the city though, would they have to be bought into, I guess in Georgia, city by city, it would vary, but would they necessarily have the type of meter that goes backwards and puts it back in the grid, or would some cases you would have to go off the grid?
So we're the ones that bring those meters out. So we have a warehouse with tons of equipment from panels to all that stuff. So we take care of getting that for you from everybody.
I got you. I got you. So the city would have to take that meter, and of course, I mean, they would benefit if the power is going back into the grid. But I mean, could they? Have you seen any pushback from the cities when say, "Hey, we're going to put this new type of meter that runs backwards"?
Yeah, to be honest, there are, and it's not the big cities. It's honestly like generally small towns,
Mm-hmm.
to where they they try to take advantage of the system. To be honest, to where they'll be like, all right, well, electricity is measured in kilowatt hours. So if you put 100 kilowatt hours into the grid, they're only going to give you back 90, and then that way they get their cut pretty quick. And it's tough for citizens, to see the real benefits as soon if you're taking something off the top like that. So we have experienced that in some smaller towns, but it really the big cities they don't do that at all.
Okay, so um, definitely the clean energy. I'm all about it too, man. If it's real clean energy and it's better than dirty energy, I'm all for it. But is it also cheaper if we go solar? I mean, like I see tons of people in my, like, older people, man, who are retirement age that are keeping their AC
Mm-hmm.
on 80 so that they can afford to live in the city.
For sure, it's hands down cheaper, to be 100% honest with you. So in the Midwest is probably the bills are probably a little bit smaller than down in Georgia, because you guys got to be warmer there. But our average bill that we see in the Midwest is about $200 per month. So if you have a $200 electricity bill, I can give you solar, and we can get you a 20-year loan on it, so you pay it off over time. But you can pay for solar and pay $175 a month instead of your $200 bill every month. Here's the real kicker, though. We all know the price on stuff goes up. It's just inflation. So in the Midwest, and I imagine Georgia's got to be the same ballpark, electricity goes up at a rate of 5% every year.
Mm-hmm.
So in 5 years, that $200 electricity bill is going to be a $240 electricity bill. That solar payment is still going to be $175.
Yep.
So you're going to save money on day one, but then you're going to continue to save more and more money every year until 20 years when you paid the system off. It probably, that $200 bill would probably be about 630, maybe 645. And that year 19, you were still only paying $175, scratching your head while your neighbors are like, man, my bill's gone up. Well, you're still paying the same thing you were paying 19 years ago.
Mm-hmm. What about the upkeep and the maintenance? How long does the system last?
So that's actually a really good question, and one thing that differentiates us from a lot of our competitors out there. So the average lifespan on panels is anywhere from 25 to 30 years, and it just depends on a multitude of things. Panels are easy to replace. So once the system's hooked up, you can replace a panel for a couple $100, and then 20 years from now, it'll probably be cheaper. But the other thing is, a lot of companies, they do a 10-year warranty. Well, we do a 25-year warranty. So anything you call us up directly, we come out and we fix it for you. We actually even have a monitoring system that it monitors your home for you. So if any of the panels start underproducing, we can give you a call and say, hey, when can we come out and fix that? And then we actually give all our customers an app that ties to their system so they can track it along with us.
Right. That's very cool. So, we talk, we're saying clean energy. What is when the panel's shot, when it's worn out, is there any, environmentally harmful thing there? What's the end result look like when a system is no longer working?
For sure, they have to be disposed just like any place else, and that's one of the big struggles with the industry that it needs to improve on over the next 30 years or so, because we will see a lot in landfills. And the other important note is, though, I guess lifespan, saying 25 to 30 years isn't a good answer to that question. The panel loses some production after 25 to 30 years. So after 25 to 30 years, you're looking at your panel producing about 80 to 90% of what it would originally. So we should be fine, in 30 years if we make the advancements that we should as far as upkeep and technology.
Yeah, as technology changes, it should get easier and easier. That's the way it should work anyway. And like you say, it should be cheaper in 20 years because true capitalism makes things better and cheaper at the same time. So
yeah.
And the more we can get government out of the way, the better off we'll be there. So I appreciate you answering all my questions, man. I've never spoken about solar in depth like that. So I appreciate you.
Good.
Yeah, taking the time there. So on a day-to-day basis, do you mentor people? How can people get a hold of you? What's the message you like to get out there, and what do people need to know about you, and what kind of mission do you have? Tell us. You're going to have thousands of people watch this by probably Saturday. You're going to have, and Smith, that's my producer. He'll break this thing up and disseminate it over all kind of different platforms. So awesome. This is your opportunity to reach some new people who haven't heard about you that need to know about Andrew.
For sure. Well, everybody can find me. A great place to find me and get my insights is on the Sales Tales podcast, like my name, SAYLES, Tales, TALES. We're on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Podcasts, pretty much everywhere. Check that out. Come review it. Also, you can find me on Facebook, Andrew Sayles, SAYLES. If you look up the hashtag Hustlers Anonymous, I'm all over Facebook with that. Shoot me a message. I love to connect with people. I love to mentor people. I do a lot of mentoring on a day-to-day basis, people that work with me, but I'm always willing to give advice to people out there on the internet. My big personal mission is just to show everybody anything is possible that you put your mind to. At 5 years ago, I was just getting out of jail for selling drugs. And, now I'm looking at I'm in one of the highest offices in St. Louis, overlooking the city, looking at the arch. I got Busch Stadium, my other view. And it's because I came in day to day and I got incrementally better for 5 years. And I see the long-term vision. And I'm not where I'm going to be at my long-term vision, but I don't care where you are right now. You're probably in a better spot than I was at 5 years ago. So if you make that commitment to get 1% better every day, man, you can look up and you can be that person that's running a company making $50,000 a month and looking for bigger things. So that's what my mission is all about, to help people make that jump and get people to believe in themselves. And I can't make you believe in yourself, but I want you to know that you can believe in yourself. So follow me on Facebook. Come check out my podcast, Sales Tales, and I'd love to connect with anybody out there.
Yeah, man. So I'm going to break that down, unpack some of that right there. Wonderful story. I love it. 5 years ago, getting out of jail, having a lot of success right now. It sounds to me like you take responsibility for the things that happened to you and the things that are going to happen to you. You don't strike me as someone who's looking for a whole lot of I hate to even use the word handout, but I mean, obviously you took advantage of mentors and information, but you seem like a person who takes responsibility for their future. Is that accurate?
Yeah, man. We're all the accumulation of every decision we've ever made. And, you can start making little decisions and become a whole new accumulation of something new. But mentorship is crucial. Nobody's going to give you handouts. but there are plenty of people that will give you mentorship or maybe even exchange mentorship with you for something, you know. I've got a lot of my mentors by being like, hey, let me work for you for free. I just need to learn from you a little bit. And then they take me under their wing for it.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Now there is a mentality out there, man, and that other people are responsible for your success, Andrew. That you know the government and the system is set up in a way that you can't do it, Andrew. You're gonna need the government to set up programs and to help you and to subsidize your success. That you can't do it, man. You don't have what it takes. You need the government to step in and help you.
Man, the government is some of the biggest hustlers and salesmen in the world, and they've been selling that lie for decades, and it's a damn shame that people believe it. And so people believe that, yeah, we need the government to take care of us, or I was put in this shitty position, or they're like, well, yeah, but that's you did that. And it's like, yeah, I did it because I went out and did it. And yeah, it's bullshit, man. I don't know if I can say it on this podcast, but that was the only word that came to mind, you know?
You say what you want to, man. that is what it is. And, you know, I'm glad that you feel that way, because this is an example of, guess what, man? It doesn't matter where you came from. If you're relying on the government to get you for your success, they are hustling you. They are hustling you. Andrew said it better than me, so I'm going to give him a chance to say it again. Andrew, to the minorities and to the underprivileged. And by the way, I was born in the trailer that I grew up in. I could touch all four walls of my bedroom by reaching, you know, and standing in the same spot. So I know what it's like to be poor, and I grew up poor, and I was broke 10 years ago. But to those people who are minorities, poor, underprivileged, inner city, or the rural areas that don't think that they have the opportunities. Some of them may have sold drugs, but most of them haven't even sold drugs. Most of them haven't even been to jail. Most of them haven't spent, you know, months in jail. What's the answer? How do they get out of that to somewhere else? Or should they rely on the government and demand that the government give them money, opportunities, and programs to help them? Or is there another way?
Man, thank you for asking that. And that's why I love doing these things, because you get those real questions that just come up that, you know, a lot of people are afraid to talk about, but the world needs to hear. So like if you are a minority or, you know, super poor, whatever, or uneducated right now, like I grew up in you know, inner St. Louis City. You know, I still live in downtown St. Louis, a luxury apartment now, but you know, I'm St. Louis through and through, and I grew up here, and there's a lot of cities like St. Louis. And here's the thing, you can't depend on the government for anything. And there's two major problems with that. The first one is you get content, and content is an ambitious man's biggest enemy. You know, you get content with that few $100s they give you a month for food stamps, because sure, it keeps you full. And then you get content with that apartment they give you for $30 a month or whatever it is. But then the real danger in that is you're surrounding yourself with other people in that mindset. So like your whole world, and like you said earlier, your network is your net worth. Your whole world, your whole network is people that are content and relying on the government. They could yank that from you at any point in time. I mean, like we essentially saw it with the COVID shutdown. You know, people were relying on the unemployment benefits, and they got yanked, and people are facing eviction, losing their houses, their mortgages. And the other danger in relying on the government is you're only going to know what they want you to know. Like, you know, like I say it all the time, and I don't give a shit if this is a knock on my teachers, but everything I use in the real world, like I said, everything I learned in school that I use in the real world on a day-to-day basis, I learned in 8th grade or prior. You know, everything else I went out and educated myself on. I paid for the sales trainings. I bought books. I read books every single day. I bought marketing courses. I've gone to seminars. I digest stuff on YouTube. I thoroughly educate myself. You can put me up against anybody coming out of college, and I guarantee I have more knowledge than them. And it's because I don't depend on the government to educate me, because they're only going to tell me what they want to know. And I'll even go even deeper, and I educate myself on government issues and really look into things. I don't need mainstream media to tell me anything. I don't need the government to tell me anything. I know if the virus is killing 0.1% of the people, I don't need to stick a vaccine in my arm that has like a 2.5% failure rate. That doesn't make any damn sense to me. But the government wants me to think that's cool. And, you have to embrace thinking for yourself and being an independent entity. If you need that help from the government right now, fully take advantage of it. Take anything the government will give you, because they'll take it from you if they can. But use that to propel yourself to the next level. You're staying in a cheap spot for rent right now. Cool, man. Save, go out and get a second job. Save that money up and get yourself in a better spot, or use that money to start going to seminars. And eventually you're not going to need that government help anymore. So that's my answer to that question. I hope it was satisfactory.
It was perfect. I mean, he said invest in yourself. He used other words, but take that money and go to seminars. Man, I know so many people that are in sales that haven't even read a sales book. It's crazy. It's insane. Andrew, it's been my pleasure, man. I greatly appreciate it, man. You know what? Before you go, let me ask you about your podcast. So you're on several different podcasts. How often do you do your podcast?
So every Monday we drop a new episode on Sales Tales. Launching a new podcast in about a week that's actually going to be a political podcast, so feel free to look that one up too. But right now it's once a week. The political podcast will actually be a daily podcast once we get that live in about a week here.
Sounds great, man. We'll go to iTunes and check that out. We appreciate you coming on, man. Look forward to having you again, and look forward to huge success. And I'm going to be following closely, man. I appreciate you spending the time with us today.
Thanks a lot, Billy. I had fun, and I'm definitely looking forward to learning from you as well.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Later.